spice up yourself. Mornings done right.
So 21 minutes to 8, our conversation continues with Wakili Dudley Achiel and Professor Naitule. What do you think, Dudley, is the actual situation on the ground? Because when people heard the dispatch from the cabinet saying, we have the focus by government was to see how we can stabilize. And the government seemed to have been announcing, and remember, we are coming now into the week where the president is about to now do what is constitutionally mandated to do, give a State of the Nation address to Parliament. That basically just tells us what the president is going to tell Parliament, that we have stabilized the economy, the shilling is now stable, the price of commodities has come down, we have had a bumper harvest because of the interventions by government of fertilizer at the farms. We now are looking at a situation where inflation has come down. We are looking at a situation where the bottom is now feeling the impact of a government that is working for them. Do you argue with any of those points?
Well, is it the alligator that they say if the alligator comes out of the water and tells you that the crocodile is unwell, how would you argue with the alligator who lives in the water?
Exactly.
And you don't? So for me, if I were to choose between the lying regime and the church, I would choose the church's position. We've just said that the church understands what's happening. The church is on the ground. The church feeds those who cannot feed themselves. When the flooding happened and people were left to their own devices, the church was out there running relief services in a small scale and doing humanitarian work. I believe what the church is saying, that people are having a difficult time. I believe what the church is saying, that they know families that are yet to find their loved ones. I believe what the church is saying too, that they know families whose people are still being abducted until now, until today, until this morning, last night. So I think the church is correct that things are tough and are yet to get better. I disbelieve the government propaganda machinery that things are better and have improved.
Because are those two mutually exclusive?
I think
is it possible that both of them are correct? That the church is correct in terms of the impact, right? But the government could also be correct in terms of the situation. Is it possible? Is it possible that the government... Are we saying that the shilling is not 129? Are we saying that the price of maize flour has not dropped? You could argue that, it's because people don't have money. But has it dropped or not?
Latif, on maize flour...
Are we saying that we don't have X number of bags or 50 kilogram bags of maize in the granaries? Are we saying that we have not had a bumper sugar harvest? Are we disputing any of those things?
Well, there's a message they sent out of a Black November sale. Maize, I think the maize flour was going for 93 shillings in some supermarket somewhere. And they quickly posted it and said, oh, look, maize flour is now retailing at 93. And I saw KOT saying that, that's a Black November sale. That's an offer. That's what the correct price of maize flour. At least that I can speak to. But on the others, I choose to believe what the church is saying.
I tell you, if the economy is doing well, it's very easy to know. By the number of new businesses starting, by the number of people borrowing money from the banks, either to expand or to start enterprises. There are those the number of employment being created per month, because these are easy statistics to establish. So when the economy is stabilizing, it's very easy. Now, the dollar is not a good measure. I mean, the shilling being 129 is not a good measure of economic stabilization, because you see the dollar, the shilling, the strength of shilling is backed by the reserves, by the foreign currency reserves, because we don't use the gold standard now. That we hold. So when you borrow money and they come in the foreign reserve like in dollars, and there is a certain level like threshold in terms of export-import cover. So if it moved from 6 months to 1 year because of borrowing the money, the shilling will definitely they will be strengthened.
Yeah.
Because there is sufficient foreign reserve. But that doesn't mean the shilling has actually stabilized, because eventually you will get that money out in order to pay those debts. So the microeconomic stability you want to seek is economic production. How much do we export? This is where you want to go and see whether we are moving or whether we are standing. How much do we export? How much do we manufacture?
How much do we earn?
Yes, how much have we earned? Okay, but you can't measure by the shilling being 129, because that's just temporary relief. It's going go back to where it was the moment you start hemorrhaging your money. So the economic expansion in generally can inform us that the economy is doing well. You see, there's one thing this government has not done. It has not created hope sufficient enough to move people into the direction of investing. Because you see, economy is built by a general belief that tomorrow will be better than today, so that I can remove the money which is somewhere in order to put it for production, to put it into production. You see what happened during the Kibaki era. Within 6 months, the interest rate and gone is so low that with the 40,000 you could borrow money and start building a house, because you know that it's going to continue going down, that it will not destabilize. You can plan, you can predict and plan. So problem here is that no one can predict this, because the tax regime itself is unpredictable. You see, you need to have a stable tax regime that is predictable. So what we have done here, we have increased the cost of doing business. So you can't tell me economy is doing well, but the 4 years he's firing what was that 400 or whatever people, and then so you can't tell me economy is doing well. When I drive in industry area, I see so much empty space when I used to see activities, full of activities. Okay, you can't say it's doing well, because when I go to neighbors, the lines you used to see in the weekend, they were long. Now you go and see 10, 20 people. So we needed to see it. We don't want to be told. You see, this is the problem. You know, the interesting thing, I want you to go back to Kibaki days. Kibaki never explained a single thing that they have done this, but people saw it. So what we want is to see. And if I think the state and government thinks that they can convince us, we are not angry because we feel it. We feel we feel hungry because we have not eaten. That is not going to be possible. You see, there is something I think our leaders need to understand. There's a huge change. What is happening now and what happened in the 70s, 80s, and 90s is totally different. The information is available now to everyone. So it's actually not possible to mislead. But I think the collective consciousness of the public has gone higher than the consciousness of the leaders. So they are still not catching up with the public. The public, if you call it the collective consciousness, the collective intellect. You see, there is what we call in governance, the unseen governor. That is the collective consciousness of individuals. Just like we say forest is made of single trees. So the national collective consciousness is made of consciousness of individuals. That has arisen clearly, because now people know what they want. So you can't convince them that they have it, because they know they don't have it.
Actually, the people have gone a step further. You see, I am of the view that people have known what they want, but we have a culture where, one, we do not speak back to authority or those we consider to be in leadership, and for the longest time, now the difference we are speaking.
Exactly.
Yes. And the very thing that people have thought and felt is now being heard.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's being heard loudly. It was heard loudest from the 25th of June. Our children spoke
Yes.
loudly.
Yeah.
Now the church has spoken loudly.
Yeah.
Certainly.
And speaking city, yesterday I think I saw David Ndii saying the economy is doing well. It's doing well. It's strong. Like Latifi is saying, the economy is okay. And then,
Indeed.
yes, the economic advisor to the president.
Yes.
And then I saw a KOT, and I think she's a journalist as well,
Yeah.
Miss Beatrice Marshall,
Yeah.
who's also a farmer, saying that, look here, things are tough. I've reduced my workers, my dairy farm workers, from 10 to 4. I've also, from 4 to 1. I've fired 3 of them. I've left 1 on my farm. I've also reduced my cows to under 10. What does that mean? That means I buy less dairy meal, I buy less salt, and I use the services of a vet less, and things like that.
And also, there are not enough people to buy my milk.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah,
The milk I'm
yes.
producing also obviously reduces.
Yes.
And then David Lee said, you're just a poor farmer. But then, how many of these poor farmers do we have around the country?
This is clever quips of David Ndi's are going to catch up with him.
No, they will, because you see, any Kenyan, anybody who has taken economics 101, you know that the easiest way to figure out an economy that is picking up is to look at the tax regime. Because you see, economy is 2 sides. It's production and consumption. Without consumption, there is no production. And what does it mean? That means you must have sufficient disposable income in the population to be able to consume. Now, David Nd's antidote to the president is tax after another tax. I don't know which school David Ndii went, because you don't need to have gone to have a PhD in economics to know that when economy is in recession, because this one is not just in recession but stagflation, it's both inflation and stagnation, you need to lower taxes so that the people have money to consume. You also need to increase in government projects. Housing is one of them. That one is a good one if it's done properly, because it will help put money in people's pocket if they're employed. Because you see, in government investment, there's something they call supply side economics, where in a recession, the government is starting building roads.
Essentially, the government pumps money into the economy.
Exactly.
That's what the government
They pump
does.
money into the economy,
Yes.
so that now people can consume, and that can spur production.
Yes.
Okay? So this in D economics, I think the president needs some other advisors.
That you're saying something.
Yeah. So, and then every day you see someone saying, nimefikiwa in what way? No, my business is not booming. I've closed it down. Small businesses closing down all the time. When you look at Twitter, where Kenyans share every minute of their lives. So I don't think that the economy is doing better as the government wants to portray. I think that the government is upping its communication, trying to gain back the narrative from the church, from active citizens who are saying that things are on a downward spiral. And I think that the government does not care. I think it cares about winning the next elections, and that's what it's getting ready for. So some of these things we are seeing
What makes you
happening,
say they don't care?
they don't care.
Care about what?
Because David Ndii as well has also told you that we don't care about those people who will campaign for us. You remember when people were saying we can use the CS money to build schools, to build roads? He said that schools and roads will not campaign for us. This CS will campaign for us. So we are putting money on people who will campaign for us. That's a message of
said
we
it
do
like
not.
that?
Yeah, he said it.
CASs.
He said it, right?
For the CAS?
Yes.
Okay.
He said that we need the CS to campaign for us. We don't need roads and schools to campaign for us. So I think that the government does not care.
I don't think these people guided the
Dr.
president.
Nday doesn't rub you nicely, does he, Dudley?
But was it here where someone was saying that
You know you can block him
block who?
for your own peace of mind, for mental health.
Yes. Because this one.
And I have no issue with him.
Whenever these comments appear on your timeline, you're like, here
There's
we
someone
go again.
in the public policy space, if he communicates the mind of government, he's our economic advisor, senior economic advisor, so that the views he expresses are not his personal views, they're the views of the government. That's the government's stand on the economy. Poor farmers here and there, Anyway, I was saying that things are not better because if they were better, as Naituli says, you'd know. You can tell.
You can feel it.
You can feel it.
There's a narrative that you have alluded to right now, and that the advice the president gets. I hear it all the time. Every regime, there's always this narrative of people who advise the president. Who selects these advisors?
The president.
So,
Yes.
are you telling me he selects people when they're one thing, and then when they take the positions, they become another thing? Or is it that we didn't know what they were to begin with?
I think what's happened is part of it is the culture we have developed of psychophancy. Trying to, when the president offers me an opportunity to advise him, then I try to see which direction is he thinking, so that I can advise him in that direction, because I don't expect him to accept an honest advice. Okay? Now, that has sunk into our society, and it's not a good thing. What you need when you see the president is in charge of this, it's a big thing. The country is big. So he has so many things in his mind. You have to be, I wouldn't say even brave enough, maybe courage is a better word, to tell the president when something is not working and why it is not working. Okay? But because we assume the president will not accept the feedback,
So we don't give him
the
proper feedback.
But we don't give him proper
we heard this
feedback.
of very many presidents. We heard this of Uhuru as well. I don't have evidence to support it, but we hear
Even
it.
Kibaki, people talked about the Mount Kenya mafia telling Kibaki the wrong thing.
always hear it.
Yes, but there's a difference between Uhuru and Kibaki. Uhuru was not a performer. Let's just face it, okay?
Yeah, those who would argue differently.
In fact, no, they're arguing differently when they compare now with what we have. But
that's the whole point. We are comparing Ruto with Kibaki. We always compare. In fact, the only reason why
Why aren't you comparing Ruto with Uhuru?
it's the same thing.
No,
It's just a continuation of the same thing.
You see what we're having is...
What's there to compare?
Exactly what we're having now is just Jubilee
It's like,
too.
how much damage did this person do within the first term? Okay, let's compare. How much damage has this person done?
Yes.
But we forget that governments are a continuum. You see, I am slow to blame the president, very slow. Why I'm slow to blame the president is because what Kibaki left is not what Uhuru left.
No.
As a government, Uhuru inherited something that functioned.
Yeah.
What he left was not functioning.
Exactly.
So, we could argue that President Ruto inherited something which was not functioning. Now, how much more he contributed to the dysfunctionality, now that's a different discussion. Okay? Now, as for advisors and people who are supposed to help the president think, I think the president is the one who guides people as to whether he will listen or not.
Exactly. I mean, now you have gotten back to what is really...
Yes.
That is absolutely
If there's a president who takes in advice, it is not difficult to tell.
Yeah.
Yes. There's when you're training managers, there's one thing we tell them. One trap to avoid when you are CEO. Avoid being the most intelligent person in that room.
Yes.
Okay? You simply avoid that. No, what does that mean? That means you need to get your advisors more clever than you. It also means you are the last person to speak on any issue. Okay? You allow them to tell you. And when they are finished, no, you may not even have to contribute that day. You go out there and check with some other people who are not in the kitchen, who are not feeling the heat.
Yeah.
And you ask them, what do you think about it? Now, when you are clear, is when now you can come and guide.
And guide and say what
Yes,
happens.
so what we have developed here, other than, I mean, I didn't work in the Kibaki era, but the way he surrounded himself with wazes, anasema mahali kuna wazee kuharibiki jambo, he was able to remove the economy from a very bad situation and brought it quickly to something that now he could give to Uhuru Kenyatta. Okay? Now, where we are in negative growth when he gave 202 when he took it over. And that's why I'm saying that why Mount Kenya region, for example, basically rejected Uhuru Kenyatta because the Indians was because when they expected him to do better than Kibaki. And that's why we have to stop hyping this idea of the youth. Kibaki himself called them the dynamic in duo. But that dynamic in duo demolished the Kibaki's economy in the Pacific.
Time is up. Thank you very much for joining us, Professor Gichile Naitule, who is a former commissioner with the National Cohesion and Integration Commission, Ochiel Dudley, who's an advocate. Asante Nisana for joining us. Keep it here for more conversations. Mata Karua comes in next with her book Against the Tide. It's 8 a.m.